Hello everyone, and welcome to my first Sew What video, where I'm going to teach you how to sew one of my patterns. They're available on my Patreon. Each month there's a new pattern featured, and for the month of November it's going to be these giant bows. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. You'll notice in the video that the bow that we're going to make is, one of them is this one. The other bow is actually a pink Jupiter bow. You'll see that the clips switch back and forth a little bit because, like I said, I have some difficulties recording, lost some clips in between, so I had to go back in, fill it in with this colored bow. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how you can make your very own bows. Let's get started.
To ensure that your pattern has printed to scale, go ahead and compare the paper ruler to a ruler that you have on hand. To cut out the pattern pieces, use some scissors that are safe to use with paper and cut out on the bold black line. You can also use a rotary cutter to speed up the cutting process. Tape together the pattern pieces where indicated to complete the pattern. I'm going to cut out the interfacing pieces first for the pieces that require fusible interfacing. Instead of cutting out the fabric pieces for these patterns, I'm actually going to just cut out the interfacing and then iron it to the fabric later, and then cut out the shape that results. Next, I'm going to cut out my thick fusible interfacing piece. This is for the bow filler, which will help give it shape and maintain its perkiness. But because it's pretty thick, when you fold it in half it can look a little funny, so we're going to notch the center so that way it doesn't fold in half nearly as bad, but still has a slight curve to it. We're going to cut out the batting next. The batting will go around the bow interfacing to give it a softer look. You'll want to baste this together later, just in the center is fine. Next, we're going to cut out the fabric pieces that do not require fusible interfacing. In this case, it's just the bow. When cutting your fabric, be sure to align your pattern with your grain line, which is parallel to the selvage edge. Also note that this piece is cut in two. For pieces that require fusible interfacing, I'm going to cut out rough shapes that will fit the piece, making sure to keep everything straight on the grain. Next, I'm going to press the interfacing to the fabric, making sure that the dots on the interfacing are facing down and the wrong side of the fabric is facing up. Use your iron on a medium setting and water in a spray bottle to help melt away the dots. When the dots are melted away and the corners don't flip up, you'll know your pressing is complete. Continue pressing all pieces that require de-wrinkling and fusible interfacing. Don't forget to mark on your bow tail where your start and stop lines are, so that way you leave an opening to flip the piece right side out. I use a disappearing ink to mark this, but pencil or chalk will work. After that, go ahead and trim off your excess fabric by following the shape of the interfacing. When sewing the bow pieces, I use a 3mm stitch, being sure to backstitch at the beginning and end of each stitch. Be sure to use pins when sewing to keep everything in place, but don't forget to take out the pins as you sew. Once again, don't forget to backstitch at the beginning and end of your stitches. Remember that all seam allowances on this project are 1/4 inch away from the edge. Whenever I have to turn a corner, such as on the corners of the bow tails, I backstitch before and after making the turn. This reinforces the stitch in this corner. Don't forget to leave an opening to turn the piece right side out, and backstitch at your start and stop lines as well. Clip your threads as you work to make sure your project remains looking neat. Even though this is on the inside, it will pay to get it out of the way now. Also remember to clip your corners so that they will be nice and pointy. Failure to do this results in rounded and bulky corners. Before I turn the bow knot right side out, I will use a dowel rod to press open the seams. It is easier to do it before you flip it. Using a loop turner, go ahead and flip the bow knot right side out. A crochet hook can also work for this step. Once you have it turned right side out, go ahead and press flat with the seam laying flat in the back. The bow pieces should be pressed on 3 sides. Press the curved sides with seams as normal. Avoid pressing the larger flat end. Leaving this uncreased will make the bow look fluffier in the end. As for the shorter flat end, turn the edges inside about 1/4 inch and press. This will prepare it to be slip stitched later. Use a wooden block or clapper to help set the fold. When turning the bow tails right side out, go slowly and gently. It might take a while, but you'll be able to do it. If you absolutely can't, go ahead and cut a few threads with a seam ripper. Once again, use your point turner to make a nice, clean corner. Be very careful and gentle with this part as well. Go ahead and press the perimeter of your bow tails with your iron and use a wood clapper to get everything looking nice and crisp. That's all for the sewing machine and iron for now. Next up is all hand sewing. To close the opening of the bow tails, go ahead and slip stitch the opening closed. Once that is done, find your center by folding the bow tails in half, and go ahead and sew a little knot here. I use a 1 thread needle to go ahead and baste about 5 stitches up the center front and center back of the tail pieces. Once I have done this, I will pull my thread tight, which will gather the pieces. Once I have gathered the bow tail, I wrap the thread around a few times so that way it will be extra secure, and then I go ahead and tie it off so nothing comes loose. Before sewing your bow, don't forget to have prepared your filler by basting your batting over your thick interfacing. Slide the bow pieces over the bow filler like 2 pillowcases. To keep them connected, do a quick whip or slip stitch in the middle. This is where pressing the edges earlier will come in handy. Use the same gathering method that you used on the bow tails to gather the bow. Center your bow tails and bow and attach them together in the center before moving on to the bow knot. When you're ready for your bow knot, go ahead and make sure the edges are nice and clean so you don't have anything messy to work with. And slip stitch one end to the back of your bow. Fold the bow knot around and pin in place with 2 pins, making sure to keep it as tight as possible to prevent drooping when you add a brooch later on. Go ahead and slip stitch this piece on as well. I like to catch a little bit of the side of the bow as well as the bow knot itself so that way everything stays in place. When you have your bow knot sewn on, go ahead and fluff and adjust your bow as necessary. Once you're done with that, we're just going to add some tack stitches from the tail to the bow. Make sure to do it in between so you can't see the knot from the front or the back. It'll just be visible from the inside. I usually do about 3 to 5 stitches, and that's all I need here. Now that you're done with your bow, all you have left to do is add snaps. I usually use 2 8mm snaps side by side. Avoid using just one, otherwise your bow will have the ability to spin, which is pretty cool, but not very functional. Now your bow is complete and you're ready to take on the world, or marry a prince, or just look fabulous. Whatever you want to do with your bow, it's up to you.
Thank you for watching my first Sew What video where you learned to sew the Glamour Bow pattern 1301, this nifty little guy here. Do note, this bow is a different size. If you have any feedback, go ahead and leave it in the comments. Alright, so if you make anything cool with the pattern 1301, the Glamour Bow, I'd love to see what you made with it and how you used it.
That's all I have for now. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next episode of Sew What.